Welcome back to day number 4 of the Nexus Games Europe. We're about to get ready for series number 3 of the day, and it is Sweden versus Ukraine. I am, of course, still Tetcher, and next to me is still Kendrick Swish, and it's still Bakery. How are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling really good. I think today we've got a pretty good schedule. We saw some good performances, and although for some of the teams it wasn't really pretty, I'm happy that a team like Spain, who's considered to be a favorite, did not disappoint this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Today is going very quickly so far, so I'm hoping this is the series that can put a stop to that and give us some great games.
Yeah, potentially Ukraine could rain on Spain's parade. Not Spain, sorry. I was so close. But Sweden is the actual other team in this matchup. Sweden, a lot of one of the teams people were expecting to do really well in this tournament, but so far have been coming up a little bit short, right, guys?
I actually found them to be in a similar spot as Spain, in which the first series they played in this tournament didn't look convincing at all. And they're going to have to follow suit with Spain looking good. Sweden can maybe turn it up as well. I mean, they've got a reputation to defend here as one of the strongest esports countries and heroes.
Well, let's get ready for the map vetoes to decide where we are going to take the first game of this series. We're going to see the Black Hearts Bay banned out by Team Sweden here. And Warhead Junction continuing to not be played, banned out by Ukraine.
I'd love to see it, to be honest.
Warhead Junction?
Yeah. I would not. I think staying away from that map is in the best interest of, especially for Sweden, as well as Ukraine. Just that map, it's a bit figured out,
but it's got nukes.
There's varying degrees of how much you figured it out, given the tournament that this is. There's a lot of Hero League players and there's a lot of HCC players, and depending on how much preparation you have, the map can vary wildly. So I think it's a good decision to ban it out.
Very true. And we are starting off with a very standard map. We are going to Cursed Hollow as the first map in this series. And you were talking about maps that are figured out. This map has been in since Technical Alpha. It's one of the first maps that was ever released with the games, and it's still around today.
It is, and it really speaks for the quality of the battleground. I mean, it's probably the most symmetric map we've got in Heroes of the Storm. You have two major impact objectives, the bosses. You have a lot of mercenaries. You can go for different playstyles, which is also what makes Infernal Shrines so popular. So I'm happy to start things off on neutral battleground.
Well, let's see what the picks and bans have to offer us in this first matchup. Like you said, we can expect a lot of standard stuff, but maybe the teams will be the ones to surprise us, as this map doesn't lend itself to a huge amount of off-meta picks.
No, this is definitely a more standard map, but there is always room for that kind of thing. So, especially when you think of stuff like Lost Vikings or Abathur or these push compositions. Speaking of Abathur, by the way, instantly banned out by the Ukraine. Those kind of compositions can really work well on Cursed Hollow because of the map mechanic and the fact that bosses are the win condition.
Tassadar and Abathur banned out of those sort of empowerers for potentially Tracer, who's been very popular in this tournament.
And I want to see what Sweden is going to play like in this first game. They did struggle a lot against Portugal in that first game, where they went for a weird single healer Auriel composition, where especially Henning didn't really look too good. We can't really put the blame on him too much, though, because it is not a good hero composition. So I want them to show up strong here. Right off the get-go, they have no more room for mistakes, in my opinion.
Sweden were able to win out that series, so they are currently 1 point up. They would love to put themselves in a 2-0 situation, put them in a great place to try and make it out of the group.
And as you can see in the bottom of your screen right now, hashtag SEWin if you think Sweden will win, and 88% of you indeed do.
But if you guys think that Ukraine can sneak it away, it is hashtag UAWin. And let's see if we can get some of the Ukraine fans in here. Give them some love. Send them your energy. Because, like we said, Sweden looking pretty good for this one.
But it's not like the Ukrainian team doesn't have good players, especially No Pain. I think looked pretty good for the most part in his matches on the flex role. So if they find themselves a nice team composition, it's not like they've never played on Cursed Hollow before. So if they get a good start and if they make No Pain feel comfortable, there's definitely a couple of weaknesses they could possibly capitalize on. Because Sweden, although we consider them to be one of the strongest teams in this tournament of the Nexus Games, they are far from being immaculate and without weakness.
Absolutely, they definitely showed lots of signs of weakness against Portugal in their first game on day 2. But they need to bounce back, and I think they can. They got a lot stronger as the series went on, looking very weak in game 1, looking a bit stronger in game 2, but definitely the strongest out of all in that game 3. With that Genji Dehaka first pick, I think that's something that suits them. Genji gives you a lot of space, and Dehaka gives you the playmaking tool.
All right, so far we're going for standard stuff. How many more globals would you recommend? Do you think a Dehaka's oftentimes, you know, that's enough? Or do you always think that the more globals you can get, the better?
I think Dehaka very often is enough, but at the same time, once you stack globals, they get more and more effective. As we saw on Cursed Hollow earlier, the Abathur composition from Poland got huge effectiveness because there was only one global to deal with it, and the Polish team forced that Dehaka to come. So having one global advantage on your opponent is always important.
Especially on a map like this, where the channel on the Tribute can be interrupted by any damage at all. Genji already spectacularly effective at denying that Tribute with those shurikens. And while this is happening, if they pick a little bit more poke, potentially, Dehaka is perfect for split soaking during that huge delay phase.
I very much like what the Ukrainian team are doing here. They instantly pick the Veigar, denying it from Hennig, and then they ban the Uther, again denying it from Hennig. We saw him look very weak on that Oriole, and he might not have any comfort heroes left.
They've actually also taken away Valor, who would have been the perfect hero to potentially go with that Oriole, if that is the direction they were forced to go. Instead, it is Brightwing, at least as one of maybe 2 supports being picked up for Sweden, as the rest of their comp starts to shape up to be a reset comp.
Yeah, they definitely need a warrior now, like a true main tank, Team Sweden, that is. Dehaka doesn't cut the role. It's not where he feels comfortable. There's a couple of them still left available. Arthas, unfortunately, is someone that I would have loved to see on the side of Sweden, was picked by their opponents. So there's still a couple left. Murden, I think, could be a solid choice, even the Turiel.
Yeah, definitely. They do have warrior choices left, but I want to focus again on that support choice. This is a almost confirmed solo support player.
Yeah.
Which could be, I think it is, a hero pool issue.
Potentially, the Brightwing, if they do combine it with that Tyrael that Kendrick was talking about, their boss control is spectacular. But, like you said, healing can start to become an issue. It's very slow from Brightwing. It's very effective because it doesn't cost mana, but it takes time, and if you're getting poked down by heroes like Valor, you can start to run into issues.
And guess who doesn't like slow healing? It is Genji. Genji wants to have somebody who's with him when he goes in, maybe a panic button like the Ancestral or a Divine Shield. That's when he really shines. A Brightwing cannot always do that. She has the shield maybe, but then she forsakes the cleanse, which against an Arthas is a little bit of a problem.
And Muradin, the final pick, you were talking about those very solid solo tanks. Muradin fits in perfectly, and he is one of those great distractions and setups for this reset style comp.
Lucio is a fantastic healer for the Ukraine right now. So, as we can see, Genji is going to be the big decider of this game, and Li Ming as well, the double reset. Well, you're not going to get double reset if the entire team has a sound barrier.
Yeah, and look at the votes, guys.
They're bringing it back.
There's a lot of fans of the Ukraine, or a lot of people who simply are not digging the draft that Sweden brought to the table here. And I can't blame them. Like, as you said, the solo support Brightwing, we saw what happened to solo support Henning on an off comfort pick hero last time when they faced Portugal. I think if Ukraine plays this well, history may repeat itself.
It very much could, and here's where I ask you guys what you think of the 2 drafts. Do you think that maybe Ukraine might have got the better end of this?
I think Ukraine definitely got the better draft here, but at the same time, we have to look again back to players, and Sweden have 2 players from Singularity. They have Vask, who used to be on Mar back in Open Division and has been a strong Hero League player ever since. It's hard to bet a bit against that roster.
Love you, Henning, but I'm not feeling it. I think Ukraine is going to take game 1.
Ukraine could be really good. Could take game 1. The fact is, their draft is so solid. Yeah. It's nothing special. It's not a situation of, oh, they've got the Vikings like the Spain we saw in the last series. It is completely different. So, yeah, final predictions from you guys.
I'm going to go with Sweden, but it's going to be a close game, I think.
I think Ukraine is going to show up here. I think they're a little bit sad and a little bit disappointed how the last game against Russia went. I believe in them.
I am really stuck between the 2 because, like we said, the players you have to believe in for Sweden, and the heroes, the picks you have to believe in for Ukraine, and the chat vote very much represents that as we are heading into the game to find out for ourselves. And Kendrick, who is the team on the left?
On the left-hand side, we've got the Swedish boys in the house with Knutti on that Genji. We have we have Henning on the right wing, Skoch is playing the Dehaka, Rask is on the main tank on the Murden, and Daikarn is on that Protoss Liming.
Whereas on the right-hand side, it is going to be Team Ukraine, with Valamax playing on the Valor, Deodark, playing on the Rhaegar, No Pain, looking for team on the Lucio, Fran is on the Arthas, and in the top lane, it's going to be Sonya, being played by Candlelight.
Not too bad. Look at those cheeky BlizzCon piggy sprays. You got one of those as well?
I do, and it is adorable.
I think you got it for the virtual ticket.
I did indeed, because I unfortunately did not go to BlizzCon, and I was so very jealous of the pictures you sent me of the Chinese teams because I wanted to beat them. But oh well. As we do see, can I just quickly say, I love the fact that Sweden are all using the blue and gold mount, the Heroes of the Dawn
Even the skins too.
Yeah, they're using it as many blue and gold skins as possible to match their flag's colors. Repping Sweden here.
Yeah, they probably wanted to steal those colors away from Ukraine as well, because their flags do have, or do shame.
Similar.
They share the same color pool.
It is blue and gold for Sweden. I believe Ukraine is officially blue and yellow. So
I mean, truth be told, that maybe. Okay, yeah, let's not be nitpicky.
I remember having this argument and Googling previously. I might be wrong. I might be misremembering. Candlelight is currently winning against Skoche in the top lane, and this will happen. Sonya very efficient, usually a bit of higher sustain against the Dehaka. The difference is Dehaka much more gank potential in the early game thanks to that burrow.
That huge damage raining in here on Valamax on that Vala. He took a lot of damage here from that permanent bombardment by Daikarn on the Liming. And he does have two supports with him, don't get me wrong here, but I think in terms of raw burst protection against the Liming, it could get a little bit dicey if Lucio doesn't have the Impet up ready.
Really good as Lucio eats all three arcane missiles there, gets
that's a gang.
Rask comes in, beautiful stun. Nuti fights from the other side of the wall without a reset though. Has to use the side the team chases him down and gets the kill. Lucio, #1 player killer hero, as Valamax realizes he might be going too deep and has to retreat, but that's still first blood for Ukraine.
And that is one of the Genji plays that looks so bad, but truth be told, it was just unlucky there.
Yeah.
If more damage sources had fired on the Genji, the deflect would have executed the Vala, and then he would have had another reset ready, and it would have looked like the coolest thing in the world. But as it is in real life as well, sometimes, you know, madness and genius are so close to each other.
Yeah, they are just one side of each. They are two sides of the same coin here.
Yeah.
As we do see, for the first time, I believe, an alternate right wing build, the unstable anomaly, coming out at level 4.
Yeah, and truth be told, I'm personally a big fan of that talent myself. It may not look like it deals a lot of damage, but it really does when the entire enemy team clumps up. And truth be told, do you really need the Peekaboo at any cost? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Especially not on first hollow.
In this case, a little bit of AoE damage, a little bit of extra damage onto that Valor that can really help here. Missiles continue to deny.
That's the power of Liming.
This is exactly what we were talking about in the draft. Dehaka soaks while the rest of the team pokes. Nuti, though, taking a lot of damage as is Rask. Nuti, very aggressive. Deflect, though, not enough to keep him alive. As Valor uses the last of his mana to finish off that kill. As Candle looks for another. Rask able to dodge the spear, though.
Unfortunately, Genji decided to take the wrong turn there into the wrong neighborhood, because that was definitely not what he was hoping for there.
Yeah, as we do see it right now, Valamax pushing in the bot lane as best as he can to try and put on that pressure, but once again, still low on mana and not enough minions here. There's currently no ammo in the towers, but he's still okay.
He's still okay for now. Candle in the top lane, trying to keep that lane safe and sound. But we cannot underestimate the Swedish team just because Knutti had a couple of misplays here. They can still swing this around at any given moment. All they need is resets. And thus far, what we've seen in the Nexus games, those double reset combos worked so well. The Spanish team in the previous series was dominating on it.
They really were. We can see, though, if Spain can execute it to as well of a degree. Because right now they have no kills to let. I take that back immediately. I was just about to say they had no kills. And the caster curse comes in and the kill count is evened up.
Well, this is the power of us commentators, right? We can have a direct impact on the game with the sheer force of our words and will.
Exactly, but we must not use our powers for evil, as Henning begins channeling onto that tribute.
Exactly. We have responsibilities too. And that was exactly what the Swedish team needed. And I mean, that was a wake-up call for Ukraine. I mean, it's not like, you know, just because you did get a couple of good moments early on and you got the first tribute that the game is already decided. No, they need to keep their guard up all the time because players like Henning, Knutti, or Skach, they will punish you really hard.
Yeah, they really will if you are not careful. As Skach clears out the lane here so that he can continue to rotate if he is needed. But right now his team is playing far enough back that he can just chill around, begin his rotation back up to the top lane, and Genji can come replace him. Actually, no, he's staying in mid for a bit.
And by the way, Li Ming once again going for a slight variation of the standard build. We do not see the dominance. We do not see any of the other standard build. We do see the missiles.
Yep, charge strike yesterday. Seeker coming in. The single target damage from this build is insane. It's great for 1v1ing, however, it lacks a little bit of AoE damage that the other build has thanks to Calamity and the sustain that Dominance offers.
I mean, we saw what Mana was able to do when Team Poland played the Li Ming, and he single-handedly dominated the team fights during the later stage. But this build's going to be a little bit harder. But what this build excels at compared to the Dominance and Calamity build is, of course, the poke from afar. You can really siege up very well, shoot those magic missiles over the wall over and over again and deal tons of damage on it.
Genji continuing to deny. He dives in, then tries to play with those level 10. Dragonblade focuses down Arthas. That is no easy feat. Spear immediately onto Genji, though, will force him to retreat. But still, that is a kill, level 10, and a tribute going over to Team Sweden.
Yeah, I think Ukraine was just overwhelmed by how quickly Sweden pulled the trigger. I mean, there was beautiful communication between Brightwing and Genji. Genji went in, Brightwing teleported on top, and boom, Dragonblade executed. Sonya was no more. Arthas was no more, which is even harder to kill. So, very good decision-making by the Swedes.
Yes, Knutti is assisting Henning and taking down these Siege Giant camps to put some pressure on the top lane. Right now, top lane is potentially one of the ones that's been left alone the most. Dehaka and Sonya did a good job up there. The balls were taking down, I believe, both sides, not 100% sure, as we do see Candle and Valanax starting on the boss here. Potentially risky, but it's not been scouted, so it will work out.
Yeah, I think they're fine for now because Sweden focuses on the macro play here. They're probably banking on the fact that they're going to take this next tribute no matter what.
Dodge
never mind.
Through, Doctor Silence tries to flee, but there's no one else. And Lucio dying elsewhere on the map. 1-for-1 Stumptown.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Okay, so they salvaged the situation pretty well. Keep in mind that Dehaka will have his global available for the next tribute fight, whereas Lucio needs a lot longer to really skate to the target location. But Sweden was preparing for the macro play. They wanted to get more structural damage done, so then the curse would be more, or would become more efficient. But can they even do it right now? The Ukrainian team is much quicker. Nice force. We are forced.
Arrives, Dehaka arrives as well, but already a kill onto Vala. Diodog is being forced to retreat, drag onto the Sonya, who is completely alone here and will get taken out. Frad is trying to get a counter kill here, and they do onto Brightwing, but it's a 2-for-1. The 3 remaining Ukrainian players, though, are not done. They want to try and do something, but where's the damage here? It's Lucio as Genji gets everything.
And that is exactly what we talked about earlier, Tetcher. Lucio wasn't there just yet. The Ukrainian team got engaged on by a beautiful initiation on the Swedes, and that's what's all she wrote. And unfortunately, they should have stalled it. They should have maybe even taken the curse, because then with the Lucio, they could have defended together. But as it is, beautiful decision-making by the Swedish team. They lost Brightwing, but hey, that's more than fine, because guess what? She's back in the mix already. That's the beauty of double global.
The double global really coming up dividends right now for Team Sweden as Team Ukraine begin working on the mercenary camp, clearing it up to try and get some deep push in that mid lane, but they will lose a fort for it if they're not careful. As Rast is being driven back, minions doing a lot of damage. The archers getting distracted though, and as such the fort will barely live.
Yeah, there we go. I think the entire team fight would have gone so much differently if Lucio had been there to cast down Barrier. That would have given them so much more additional protection against Knuti, who's going on a rampage with that Dragon Blade protected by his team.
Rask will finally finish off this fort, take some damage for it though as Fran chases him down. Rask being very patient with his Oh, he got interrupted by the boop. He gets rooted. They focus him down. Here comes the teleport for that Emerald Wind, and that will give Bruin a chance to escape. But they're going to try and turn it around. Sound Barrier is very good though. Valor gets still doing damage onto Skullhead, chasing him down. Adaptation is not available for him. Not his adaptation, sorry, his just trait in general. As we do see Dahaka going down. Everyone else escaped though. I was sure Rask was going to die.
I actually thought so as well. That was crazy. He did have the avatar ready for the most part, but he refused to use it. I think he wanted to bait in too much. You could have also argued that if he had used it earlier, he could have actually used his body more to prevent all that damage on his fellow Dahaka. And as it is, Ukraine, they're wanting to use... Oh, he got another interrupt done on Rask, and they take the boss on the bottom half side. This is a huge time window for the Ukrainian team to make something happen.
And they need to. They are two levels behind.
It is all or nothing
on the way for Sweden. Consume Essence is the name of the trait. I completely forgot before, as we do see the rest of Ukraine moving in towards that fort. They will be able to focus it down, but look at Nuti, positioned behind here. If anyone drops low, like now, Neonok's a perfect target, as Nuti will begin to focus him down. Freezes will become available very soon. Dragon Blade is activated. He's in the stun! No, they turn it around. Neonok fleeing away from the danger as he's trying to run. Valor is down there as the main damage dealer. Silence is dropped, but cleansed out. So no pagan liquid team able to keep moving here to stay alive.
No way.
He dropped the sound barrier, but Sonya is so low trying to get Khan here, and Tiger goes down.
That was huge by the Ukrainian team. They got so much value. 16. Look at how close it was, Tetcher. It was so nearby, but even the one kill on the Vala wasn't enough to get it in when it was really needed. The boss done though, oh my goodness, Genji chose the wrong location to go ham on.
He really did. He activated Dragon Blade, but didn't have the swipe to get himself out. And the Genji boss stun. We've seen it before, but that was devastating. 16 is now available for Team Sweden, but Ukraine, they're creeping their way back into this game.
Yeah, they are far from being defeated just now, and we see a little bit of miscommunication here and there. The boss stun should have never happened to a team of the caliber of Sweden, and all of a sudden, this game is bouncing back and forth. Early game, super strong by Sweden, then Ukraine stabilizing, coming back, and now, as we're getting closer to 16 and 20, it is a dead even game.
Tribute spawns. We will see Sweden going to pick it up. No one from Ukraine is even going to come close. They don't have a need to, as they don't have 16, and it's the first tribute in the new rotation from Sweden.
Very true. They're taking care of the siege giants here. Always a good thing to do, because those can do a surprising amount of damage if left unattended. The party mix completed for Lucio. Very, very important here. The range of his healing is now going to be a lot longer and bigger.
So we do see Nuti moving around here. He will potentially be the one to move furthest forward outside of potentially Rask to scout out. They are two with the best mobility here.
Absolutely, very true. Now we see the nerves of steel coming in from Sonya. That's a big talent if Sonya wants to go for those hyper-aggressive plays here. In the 20, it's going to get even worse for the Swedes. Oh, never mind. Arthur's and Murden meet in a bush.
Yeah, Arthur's tanking through with that frost presence here, keeping himself alive. Dahaka tunneling into the backline. Vala kills off Li Ming, though. Dahaka realizes this is a bad place to be and flees, but Racecar, he is out of there. But that's a 1-for-0, and Ukraine will get the tribute.
And that is the power of a Vala, who has the arrow build, who knows how to use it and knows how to land it. And the Poison Spear as actually what finished the Li Ming altogether. And without one of the reset components, there is no way the Swedes can do anything. The boss was taken earlier by Ukraine, and now they're in the driver's seat once more. I think they can actually push with it.
There's not even a fully... This isn't even a fully stacked Vala in the Hungering Arrow. She's at 90, so she is basically done. But that's still a huge amount of damage she's doing, and it's only going to get more as the game goes on, especially when combined with that Manticore at level 16.
Yeah, now the Swedish team needs to be very careful. The boss is starting to become a real nuisance. They have the Haka in the bottom lane. That means they could build up some pressure themselves, but I think the bottom lane on the side of Ukraine is still fairly healthy. So how long do they want to commit? There's no way Haka can get level 20 right now, so he needs to be on his tippy toes when it comes to landing and engage from the right-hand bush side.
We'll see if that's where he tunnels to. Right now, he's just trying to put some counter pressure on the bottom lane. He finishes his movement speed quest.
Lucio's scouting there. Look at that.
Lucio is scouting there. Lucio now speeding off to the tribute as the boss is just about to die. So there is no reason for them to hang around this area.
Yeah, the Haka didn't even think of engaging here, by the way. He's just like, okay, so I'm gonna get this tower line, so we trade tower lines. The top one was taken by Ukraine. The bottom one was taken by the Haka, or at least large portions of it. But the curse point is the big thing that matters.
As the curse is activated, Ukraine moving in. Still a full level lead for Sweden. This is the point. Even though Ukraine have been making all of these crazy moves, Sweden remains ahead. Ukraine need to get some good value out of this curse. They've been able to do some good damage in mid lane. It's a start, but more would be perfect here.
Look at the rotation by Ukraine. They're trying to go for the Murd, and Rhaegar is very far behind, though. I'm not really sure where he's at, and that could cost Arthur's his life.
The sound barrier is huge. Dragon Blade's not doing enough to break through it, and as such, everyone from Ukraine survives. Seven Valor gets taken out. Ancestral not landing on Valor, instead on Lucio, who is now the only surviving member. He goes down. Arthur's, gets out, abandons his undead minions, but yeah, that is what we call a very one-sided team fight.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to have a quad kill in like 5 seconds? Not even, maybe 3 seconds. But I do not understand why Rhaegar wasn't there with his teammates. He was the only one trying to go for the bottom lane when the rest of his team was setting up a nice ambush, which in theory was a nice idea. But the Arthas dropped so low. The Ancestral was very late on the Vala as well. I think
it didn't even hit Valor.
No, it didn't even. Yeah, it hit Lucio as well. There's so many chaotic elements in that last team fight on the side of Ukraine that you really have to wonder, what were they thinking?
That was Ukraine's last chance to fight for a while, as level 20 is now available for Team Sweden. The upgraded Dragon Blade, Storm Shield, the Contagion. We've seen so many game-changing uses of this level 20 talent from the Hackers.
Exactly, and now, of course, the boss is healthy at 100% still, almost pushing on that bottom keep, and Sweden has now found an opening in the defense lines of the Ukraine.
Hungering Arrow will help them burn down this, as Arthur's assist. The core still full shield. The boss getting burnt down as Ras moves in. Good route by Arthur to try and hold the line as Ras moves into the backline. The repulsion will burn down at least some of the damage onto the boss. The Emerald Winter disengages. We do see Genji trying to focus down onto the core. The boss is taken down. Here's the foot. Here is sound barrier, but the core is too low. And that is GG as Sweden takes game number 1.
Well, and that's all she wrote. That one aggressive ambush attempt was all that mattered. It was Ukraine being a little bit unorganized, disorganized, being a little bit too split out, especially the Rhaegar, and the Swedes, they capitalized heavily on it. They won that team fight in 2-3 seconds, bada boom, bada bang, double reset, and that's it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That one team fight really turned it round.
Yeah, a very competitive game. The Ukraine falling behind at some key moments, but always getting the pick and staying in it. Lots of misplays, especially in the early game from both sides, though, man. Yeah. It was a very tricky game for either team to really get a handle on.
Yeah, Knuti had his moments where he just used Swift Strike into the enemy team when it was not really needed. He had a couple of failed ganking attempts that cost his own life instead of his opponent's. Yeah. But in the end, the late game looked a lot stronger for the Swedish team, especially Li Ming and Genji were always making sure that they focused on the same target.
But good hope being shown by Ukraine here. But Bakery, what do you have to show us from that game?
I have one of the key team fights. It's the 12 vs 11 top side, and it's the curse for Ukraine, potentially. So as we get into it, we see Vala is basically already sacrificing herself down here. She's trying to dismount. And Li Ming, she knows because of that, she has to be the one to get the interrupt. She already calls Brightwing, you need to TP. And Henning, we called him out before the game, but he knows exactly what to do. So as we play it forward, we see Li Ming, she goes forward, she wave of forces to interrupt. As soon as Henning arrives, he uses the Emerald Wind and completely splits them up. Valor is now in the position where she instantly dies. Li Ming just survives, and this is the end of the team fight. But Sweden, they get really greedy. They look at Arthas, and instead of going for Arthas, they go for the Sonya and try and pick up a kill. Well, that just means Arthas gets the free kill on Henning, but he does not have the root quest complete at level 1. He does not get the root on Li Ming. And now, No Pain looking for Team Loser. He's so overzealous. He runs all the way forward. He has sound barrier. They can potentially win this, but he gets stun locked down. Ancestral is not in time, I'm afraid. And double reset, baby. All three go down almost instantaneously.
Yeah. And I think that tells the story of the game. The supports on Ukraine had their wonky moments, their shaky moments. Oftentimes you had the feeling that they were always lacking a little far behind. We had a similar issue that we saw yesterday, the answer shoals being kept a little bit too long sometimes. But overall, I gotta give credit to the Ukrainian team, I think, compared to a few days ago. They looked a lot better in this first game.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I don't have any more replays to show it, that last fight in particular, the Veigar, if that Ancestral was on the correct target and just slightly earlier, that could have been their ticket to win the game.
The idea wasn't bad at all. Like, going for an ambush there, Sweden didn't really look like they were knowing exactly what was going on, but they realized quickly enough that there was not 5 opponents to face them, and as such, I think it could have worked if executed more precisely.
The idea wasn't bad, the play wasn't bad. Where would you like to see Ukraine take Sweden to potentially eke out an advantage?
Well, we saw